Okay, real quick. Forget everything you think you know about prehistoric dating. Forget the Flintstones. Forget that one movie where the big dumb guy drags the woman back to his cave by her hair. Forget basically every Halloween costume ever. Because here's the twist that's going to ruin every cave person joke you've ever made. The prehistoric men who got chosen the most. The ones who had the most reproductive success, the ones women actually wanted to be with, were essentially the ancient world's most generous nice guys. Yeah. We'll explain that. Here's the short answer. Prehistoric women, just like women today, and honestly just like people today, chose mates based on a combination of resources, protection, social status, and cooperation. Not just raw muscle. Not kidnapping. Not whoever hit the hardest. The guy with the best survival package won. And what was in that package? Glad you asked. We're going to break it down like a prehistoric dating profile. Because honestly, that's exactly what it was. Let's walk through how prehistoric mate selection actually worked, step by step. The number one quality prehistoric women looked for in a mate was the ability to provide food consistently. And we're not talking about one lucky mammoth hunt. We're talking about someone who could reliably bring home the bison. Anthropologists have studied modern hunter-gatherer societies. Groups like the Hadza in Tanzania, who give us our best living window into prehistoric life. And they found something fascinating. The men who were the best hunters didn't just eat more themselves. They shared more. They gave food to other families, to the elderly, to people who came up short that week. That generosity wasn't just nice. It was social currency. It told every woman watching, this man produces more than he consumes. He is a net positive to my life and my children's lives. Which, if you think about it, is still a pretty solid dating strategy in 2024. Okay, yes, physical fitness mattered. We're not going to pretend it didn't. But here's the nuance Hollywood always skips. Prehistoric women weren't just looking for the biggest guy. They were looking for the healthiest guy. There's a difference. Big muscles are expensive. They require more food, more calories, more resources. A guy who was enormous but couldn't feed himself consistently was actually a liability. What women were scanning for, unconsciously through millions of years of evolution, were signals of genuine health. Symmetrical facial features indicates good genes, low parasite load. Clear skin, no disease. Good teeth, can actually chew food and survive. High energy and coordination, can hunt successfully and run from predators. These aren't arbitrary beauty standards. They were biological data points that said, my children with this person have a good chance of surviving. Here's where it gets really interesting. One strong guy alone is fine, I guess. But one strong guy who's also well liked by the rest of the group, that's the jackpot. In prehistoric societies, survival was almost entirely communal. You defended against predators together. You hunted together. You raised children together. So a man's social network, his alliances, his reputation, how much other men respected and liked him, was a massive signal to women. A guy who had beef with everyone in the tribe was actually dangerous to attach yourself to. A guy who was respected, who helped others, who could call in favors. That was a man whose children would be protected by an entire community. Raw strength can carry you through a lot. But intelligence is scalable. The prehistoric men who could figure out where the animals migrated, who could remember which plants were safe to eat last winter, who could look at a broken spear and fix it. Those men were worth their weight in flint. This is why humans develop things like humor, storytelling, and creative problem solving. These weren't just fun extras. They were mate attraction displays. Humor, specifically, signals fast cognitive processing. It says, my brain works quickly and flexibly, which is a fancy way of saying cavemen who could make women laugh were doing really well for themselves. Some things never change. Okay, Here's the part that genuinely surprises most people. In prehistoric societies, women had significantly more mate choice than the cave-dragging myth suggests. Like, way more. Here's why. In small, tight-knit bands of 20 to 50 people, which is how most prehistoric humans lived. Everyone knew everyone's reputation. There was no hiding. A man who was aggressive toward women. Everyone knew. A man who was lazy and didn't contribute. Everyone knew. A man who lied about his hunting skills. Everyone knew. There was no Tinder profile to embellish. Your reputation was your profile. And here's the second surprising part. Anthropological evidence suggests that in many prehistoric groups, women had the ability to leave bad partnerships. Because of communal living, a woman wasn't solely dependent on one man. The community provided a safety net. This meant men who were controlling or abusive didn't necessarily get to stay in the gene pool as effectively as the movies suggest. The men who stuck around, whose bloodlines continued, were more often the ones who were cooperative, generous, and genuinely useful. Evolution, my friends, was doing the work. Now, to be fair, yes, male competition was absolutely real. Men competed for status. There was conflict. Dominance hierarchies existed. But here's the key finding from anthropologists like Christopher Boehm and his research on reverse dominance hierarchies. In most small prehistoric societies, excessively dominant, aggressive, or bullying men were actually collectively kept in check by the rest of the group. The tribe would mock them, exclude them, refuse to share resources with them, or in extreme cases, exile them entirely. Researchers call this a leveling mechanism. Prehistoric society had a built-in anti-bully system. So the alpha of prehistoric society wasn't the most violent guy. He was more often the most respected guy, which meant the most generous, the most skilled, and the most socially intelligent one. Cool, right? So what does this mean for us today? It turns out the traits that made someone a desirable prehistoric mate, reliability, generosity, social intelligence, genuine competence, and humor, map almost perfectly onto what modern psychological research says people look for in long-term partners today. A 2019 study out of the University of Westminster found that both men and women ranked kindness as the single most important trait in a long-term partner, ranking above physical attractiveness, status, and financial security. The cave is different. The criteria? Basically the same. Okay, bonus fact. Because this one's too good to leave out. Prehistoric men gave gifts. No, seriously. Archaeological evidence from sites across Europe, dating back over 100,000 years, shows early humans exchanging ornamental objects, rare shells, and decorative items with each other. Many anthropologists believe these were early forms of courtship gifts. The tradition of bringing flowers on a date. Older than agriculture. Older than writing. Older than the wheel. Your prehistoric ancestor was out here crossing a mountain range to find a pretty shell to give to someone he liked. Honestly, that's kind of beautiful. It's also proof that gift-giving as a romantic gesture is so deeply hardwired into us that 100,000 years of civilization hasn't budged it even slightly. So next time someone tells you romance is dead, you can inform them it has literally survived the Ice Age. So here's the bottom line. The cavemen who won at prehistoric dating weren't the most violent. They were the most valuable. To their mates, to their children, and to their community. Which is honestly a more optimistic picture of human nature than most people expect. If you want to go deeper on this stuff, we've got videos on the evolution of jealousy, why humans pair bond in the first place, and what modern dating gets wrong about attraction. Links are in the description. And if you found this video interesting, or if it made you feel weirdly validated, hit the like button because it helps more curious people find this channel. And honestly, that's just the modern equivalent of sharing your mammoth. Subscribe if you want more of this kind of thing. We drop new explainers every week on history, human behavior, and the surprisingly weird science of being a person. Leave a comment below. What prehistoric trait do you think matters most in a partner today?